This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard. Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com, get signed up for great content. DJ White on with us today. Brody Boyd, former Indiana All-Star as well. Todd Leary, how are you, man?
Man, I'm good. Same old Groundhog Day, number, 26 now?
I'm telling you, but boy, it was a chilly Groundhog Day waking up today as opposed to the last few days. That nice weather, that cold really set in overnight.
Yeah, it did. They're trying to dampen my golf game, but it's not going to happen. I'm going to persist and get through it.
Trust me, folks, I've seen him. No. Oh, here's a funny story for you. The other day, I think it was the day after I saw Todd on the course out at Eagle Point. I pulled out. I was pulling out, and there was a tee box across from me, and I thought, let's say, is that Todd up there? Because he looked just like you from behind. And I'm like, I'm going to wait till he hits and give him a yell. He swings. I just punched the gas and took off. I was like, nope.
Yeah. No, I have made my way around this place several times recently. It's amazing how many people have been out, and I love they're doing the one person per cart for those people taking a cart, so it just looks like there's a million people on the course when really, a foursome's got 4 carts running all over the place.
I kind of like that. Just
I
having
do
your own
too.
Carts, actually, to be honest with you.
I agree.
UK's, how do you say this dude's name? Johnny's
Jazang.
Headed to UCLA. Mick Cronin and our friend Michael Lewis picking up another good one. Man, they're working on stuff out there, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean they had quite a time of the year. That was a pretty amazing start, and the way they finished off. I mean, for a team that was looking at finishing last in the Pac-12 and ended up, I think they won it or came in second place, and they made the NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah,
so just an incredible turnaround.
Yeah, they ended up with a 2 seed in the Pac-12 tournament. How they were going in. It was nuts. I remember talking to Michael, chatting with Michael, and they were you could just tell the frustration. This was earlier on. They're like, wow, you just see them shaking their head. But man, you're right. They got it turned around. 88% of 130 college athletic directors polled won an expanded college football playoffs. It looks like the 8 team is the preferable, but we're stuck until 2025, Todd Leary, because they signed a 12-year contract with ESPN back in 2014. So it's here till then, at least this 4-team deal. But
have you ever heard the term renegotiation?
That's right.
I mean, they do that in every other sport and every other aspect of contracts.
And it's with ESPN.
Right.
It's like
you're going to be giving them more games. Wouldn't you think that there's a way to renegotiate that?
You would think. Indiana offered the Longino kid. We talked about him yesterday a little bit, but another shooting guard. I was watching some video on that dude. He sure likes to stroke it. And shooting is something Indiana can certainly use.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they are. The team is rounding out in the shape I think Archie Miller wants it, and being a little bit faster up and down the court, and having some definite threats at 4 of the 5 positions to be able to knock down, if not threes, at least deep outside shots. And that's, that obviously will be a change. This year's team, when Devontae got hot, they obviously shot the ball pretty well. And when, the one game against Notre Dame, when Armand Franklin got hot, but I mean, when you can be, a month after the season's over and probably single out the 3 or 4 really good games they got hot, obviously shooting was an issue and something that was inconsistent.
Well, that's something we've been talking about for a couple of years
forever.
now.
Yeah, seems
and,
like
and we've got Trey Galloway, Anthony Leo coming in as well. Those guys are going to help that. But we see them like Anthony Neal, great shooter in high school, but we're moving to college, and there is a 2-foot difference in the 3-point line, and so until it happens, no one can say but things are looking much better in that regard.
Yeah, I mean here's the issue with that. You can't say his percentages or anyone making that transition. You can't say that their 3-point percentage in high school is going to be really relevant to their 3-point percentage in college, but that's not even really the factor. The fact that they are shooters, I mean, your hand-eye coordination, I mean, if you've trained yourself to shoot from 21 feet, you can train yourself to shoot from 22 or 23 feet. It's just a matter of the muscle memory, and the hand-eye coordination is already there. So, shooters, only really people that follow basketball really closely or have played it understand this, but shooters are shooters. It doesn't really matter what the distance is. And if guys can prove they can shoot it in high school, it is going to transition to them being able to shoot it in college. Maybe not the exact percentage, but it's going to transition to being able to be shooters.
Yeah, and just that's something that tends to, I hate to use this analogy, but spread like a virus when you have. It's just like positive things can spread, negative things can spread. But when you got guys hitting, it's like the free throw line. It's like when those guys start missing, it started just spreading across the team, it seems like.
Yeah, and you know what? The free throw line is the best example of that, is when you see, when they start missing, it seems like it becomes contagious and everyone starts missing, and vice versa. When, if you get some guys that are making a bunch of free throws in a row. And the free throw line really is a great determining factor in whether a guy's a consistent shooter or not. Because if you got guys that are making over 80% of their free throws, they're probably a pretty consistent shooter no matter what the distance is. Now, the percentages will go down the farther back you move, but they're probably a pretty consistent shooter if they can shoot, 80+% from the free throw line. If it goes down below that, and they're even a guard that's a 72 or 3% free throw shooter, he's probably not that great an outside shooter, because there are some anomalies in that and people who beat the system with it. But for the most part, you can look at a guy's free throw percentage and tell whether he's a consistently good outside shooter or not.
Yeah, in my mind, I guess maybe unless you're a point guard, but a guard, there's no guard ever that should shoot less than 80% at the free throw line.
Well, if they do, yeah, and you're right about that. If they do, they're very it's very difficult for a team to be able to put somebody away at the end of a game. I mean, you're always going to be in it if you're the opposing team, because if they can't make free throws at the end and the guard is the guy who has the ball most of the time, that guy's got to be able to make 80% plus from the free throw line, and 80%. I mean, I could teach my.
I think he just muted himself. He didn't realize it. You still, yeah. You're back though. You're back. Yeah, and that's the thing that we see, and we'll use Indiana as an example because they're poor free throw shooting the last couple of years. But that's just one of those small things that when you change, it changes your win-loss ledger every year. And I don't care if it's 3 games, but there's a big difference between being 20 and 12 and being 23 and 9. I mean, and you do that every year. That's just a huge difference.
Well, you can take 2 teams last year out of, say the top 25 or 30, or say the field of 64 that was going to make the NCAA tournament, or 68. There are 2 teams out of that in BYU and Utah State that, those 2 teams, if they were not excellent shooters and in the top 10 probably in free throws and 3-point percentage in the country, there's no way those teams could compete with hardly anyone. I mean, physically, they just don't have the talent to be able to do that. Their forte is making outside shots and getting up and down the court and, seeing how many possessions they can get in a game, and they're trying to chuck up as many threes as they can get. And, they're teams that live and die by that. They are truly teams that live and die by the 3-point line. And we never want Indiana to get to that point. Indiana hasn't been at that point since I can ever remember. But it always has been a big factor in them being successful is having shooters and having guys that can make shots. And, this team is trending towards all the guys coming in, or most of the guys coming in are trending towards shooters.
Yeah, and so some of the stuff we're talking about, we hopefully won't have to worry about. But to talk about free throw shooting once more, it's always talking about how much it's a mental game. It's mostly mental, unless you have just a jacked up shooting stroke, which that's a whole nother part. But all things being equal, the mental part of it, what do you do to address that? If you were coaching, how do you with this player? So how do you address the mental part, blocking out what they need to block out, or whatever it is that is their mental block from being a successful free throw shooter?
One of the best things I heard, and this was growing up, and I heard it at Steve Alford's, he and his dad used to travel around and do that basketball workout at different basketball camps, and I saw it. And, his dad said, Steve has the most confidence. Like, if you get down to the end of the game and they're going to foul somebody, Steve always wants to be the guy that gets fouled. And the reason for that and why he had so much confidence is because he's practiced free throw. He feels like he's practiced free throws more than anybody else in the world, for that matter. And whether that's true or not, I mean, he feels like he has put in the work and been successful at making free throws because he has done all the work and put in the effort to get better at it. Therefore, he has a ton of confidence in making free throws. And I always understood that, to the point of, if I ever felt like, there was one shot that's never going to change. It's always the same distance. It's always the same height. There's no wind in an inside arena unless you're in Minnesota. And, it's just one of those things. It's going to be the same all the time. And if I put in the work and knew I had shot enough free throws, I would always feel confident in making it. And that truly is what it is. I mean, if you can take a bad free throw shooter and have him work on it for a couple of days in a row, and 3 days from now, he's going to feel like a better free throw shooter than he did before he started working on it. And then if you just magnify that and keep going, day after day after day, eventually you're going to get to the point where you don't feel like you should ever miss. And I don't, still to this day at 50 years old, I don't feel like I should ever miss a free throw.
I understand, because I think that's the difference today, is that confidence thing. These kids, they don't have that confidence, but it's because they didn't do what you just said Steve Alford did. Shoot is more than feeling like he shot more than anybody else. I mean, which means he's living in the gym. And, I don't know that the gym rats, there's not as many of those guys anymore.
I can remember being a little kid, and it would be the middle of winter time, and I would go out and shoot 100 free throws. I'd shoot them in tens and go out and shoot 100 free throws. And I would have a full, big, gigantic, puffy coat on and gloves on my hands and everything. Like, it really probably wasn't helping me. I wasn't getting a good feel for the ball, but it just made me like I always wanted to make sure that I did it. And I would do that, I would say I would do that like 3 times in a night, but I'd do it like 10 or 15 times in a day. Like, I guarantee you I was shooting 1,000 free throws a day easily. And that wasn't anybody. That wasn't my dad working me out. I mean, my parents were divorced. I lived with my mom. And it was just a matter of, that's what I wanted to do. I mean, we didn't have 2K or Fortnite or all these other things that these kids have. I mean, we had Atari Asteroids and
Pong,
things like that.
Pong. Were you playing Pong?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I can't even put a guess on the number of free throws. I bet I've shot 1 million free throws in my life. I bet I have.
I wouldn't doubt that a bit. And still going. And that's why you can still hit them today. I mean, that's why you can step out on the assembly hall floor today in a game and probably be a much, much higher percentage than 80% of the kids on that team.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way in a season-long thing. It is like riding. Now, my muscles aren't the same. I don't have the flexibility I used to have and all that. But free throws, I mean, that hasn't gone away. And it's like riding a bike. You hear that all the time, and it's kind of true with that. Like, that distance, if I shot 3 practice shots, I mean, I would guess I would make the next 10 in a row.
Well, let's talk to a guy who could also do some of that. DJ White, former Hoosier player. He's going to be joining us next year on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Lee. We're coming back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
pizza, burgers, beer. We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Joined now by who's your favorite, DJ White. DJ, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Cannot complain. Todd Leary's with us here as well, joining in.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Oh, doing great.
It's a weird time out there for us, DJ. I know we talked to a lot of former players, guys, that you made it back from overseas, which I know that had to be scary for you, but you got back safely, I guess, in Maryland right now. How are things going in that regard?
Everything's good, man. It definitely was a weird time being out of the country with all this going on, but they canceled our season, and I left the next day to make it back home safely. So I'm just happy to be back with my family in a safe environment.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you back. So what are you doing? What's a DJ White do to spend the time? I know we've talked to several guys, like I said, Jordan, who got back, or Jordan Holes, and you guys got to try to stay in shape because even though the season's canceled, it's not permanently. So, and yet that's difficult to do. How are you managing through that?
Well, fortunately, I had some equipment here at my home in my basement to use. So I've been able to, lift, and I go out in the backyard and do some agility drills, box jumps and run and stuff. So run around the neighborhood. So I've been fortunate enough to have the space to be able to do some of the things that I need to do on a daily basis.
Todd's going to be head over to his house.
Yeah, no, that's not like physical activity.
Come on, man. I can put you through a workout for sure.
If you said you were cooking food, I'd be headed over. Hey, Given the circumstances and the situation, obviously, a lot of this started over in Europe, or at least that's what we think, or whatever. Do you plan on going back? Are you going to go back and play? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this season is going to be over. We play in 2 competitions over in Turkey. That's a country I'm in, the Turkish League and in the European League called the Euro Cup. As of right now, both leagues are just suspended, and I think Euro Cup wants to continue. I don't see how. So my guess is we're done. But next season I'll definitely be back. I have a contract for another year with my team. So I anticipate in August, September that I'll be heading back over.
Awesome.
How much longer do you think you're wanting to play? I know it's a drain because we talked to several of these guys, and you're out of the country for so much of the year, and it's a difficult life, but it's also it's what you're made to do, and then I know you enjoy it a lot. So how much longer do you think that's something you want to continue?
I'm coming to the end, man. I think this might be my last year, or if not, I think I'll play one more. Thing for me is just I still love the game. But I have a family now. I have a wife and 3 kids. About to have 3 kids. I have another baby girl coming in the end of this month, April 27th. So things have changed for me. So I think if this isn't my last year, I'll give it one more, and then I think I'll call it a day.
What's new for DJ after that? Are you looking at coaching? I know a lot of guys do academies. There's all kinds of different things to work in that regard. What are your thoughts?
Me and coaching, probably not. I don't think I had the patience to coach. So I've grown to love in finance. So I think that's something that I might get into. I've been dabbling in a little real estate also, so kind of getting away from the basketball world for me. I always love it, and definitely pay attention to it and watch it and things like that. But as far as coaching or training or something, I don't think that's something that I'll go into.
DJ sounds like he was in business school at Indiana because he's making a very smart business decision here.
I should have. I wish I did. At this point, so.
Do you keep in contact with any of the guys, or what guys from your teams do you keep in contact with?
I keep in contact with Lance, Earl Calloway. Both of those guys were in my wedding. Talk to those guys often. On a consistent basis, probably just those 2.
Earl Calloway is the name I would have not thought of for a while. I forgot all about. I love that guy.
Yeah. Well, he lives here with me in Georgia. I mean, we live he lives in the south of Atlanta, and I live north of Atlanta. So we're probably like 45 minutes apart. So we get to see each other sometimes in the summer. And awesome. Me and Lance, that was my college, that was my roommate. So we talk often as well.
Lance Stelmer, he's a great friend of the show. Appreciate him. He's into coaching now. He's down to coaching at Providence High School in Southern Indiana.
Yeah, I saw that. I think they made it, if I'm not mistaken, to the sectionals. I don't know.
I think they won. I think they won their sectional. I think they won a sectional this year.
They did. Yep, they did.
Right. So
congratulations for him.
He's doing good.
So are you able to follow? I know, but when you're out of the country, it's a lot more difficult. But are you able to follow Indiana basketball much?
I follow. I honestly don't get a chance to watch the games just because of the time difference. If they play an early game, like a CBS game, I might be able to catch it because of the time difference. But I always check the box scores. I follow them on the ESPN app, so it comes to my phone all the time. So I see the scores and all the news and things like that.
And, when you're out of the country, very difficult to get back to a game. How long has it been since you've been to an IU game?
Man, I went to one when I was playing in the States in the NBA. Maybe that was like 2009, 10, I think. So it's been a while. It's definitely been a while. Wow. That's one of my goals when I finish is to get to a game, to get back on campus and see some of the people, see a game and things like that.
You won't recognize Assembly Hall when you come back and see it now with all the renovations and things they've done.
That's what I hear, and the names change, right? Is it
Yeah, Simon Scott. Yeah, it's totally different than what you'll remember it. And I know you guys had way better and nicer locker rooms than what we had. Wait till you see what these guys have now. I mean, they like live in a 5-star Trump hotel right now. It's
oh well, I'm jealous, man.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, I remember, Todd, the locker room you had. I don't know if it's the same DJs had. It was probably similar.
It definitely was not. Trust me.
They remodeled it. I think my freshman year they remodeled it a little bit, so it changed. But I saw the old one, I think. So yeah, we got to upgrade.
That was
for
the
sure.
first. That was the first remodel since 1971. So
Exactly.
it was a little different.
So what else is going on, DJ? What are you looking at doing while you're home? I know you're going to stay in shape, but do you spend this time with your family? And congratulations again on that growing family of yours. But that's got to be a unique experience because you've been playing ball for so long professionally that this is something you haven't been able to do for, well, I guess maybe never. I mean, with the family.
Yeah, I've never been home at this time, and it's been good. It's been good just being able to spend time with my kids. My wife definitely enjoys it. She's I'm really working a 9-to-5 here in my own house. I'm cooking, cleaning, doing all kind of things, yard work. So she's enjoying it more than me. but it's fun. It's cool just to sit and relax for a little bit. I guess it's giving me a taste of early retirement.
Man, and do you get to run across any of your former teammates or just any people with Indiana connections out on the road when you're playing out of the country?
Yeah, you play against anybody over in the same league you're in?
Let me see. I don't think I have. I think most of those guys, I think Jordan is in Germany.
He's in Germany.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's in Germany. And
a couple other guys are in, I think, Italy. I was in Italy a couple years back, but I haven't ran against anybody.
You have anybody else on your team that we would even know of that's from Big Ten or from a school we would know of?
On my team, let's see. He's older, Sammy Mahia. He went to DePaul.
So you're the headliner for sure.
What is it like playing in a foreign country like that? You know, after playing in somewhere like Indiana, what's it like playing in a foreign country like in Turkey? I mean, well, obviously they like basketball, but it's not quite the same. But and then you got the differences in life and culture and all that. It's just got to be a weird experience, even after you're there for a while.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, as far as basketball, you have your big teams with the big crowds. I mean, it's definitely not a college atmosphere like Assembly Hall. It's just different. They're really a soccer, what they call it, football over this way. But they come to the games, like I said, depends on the team. It could be a full out craziness, or it could be nobody in the stands. And as far as living, it's definitely an adjustment. I lived in Istanbul. That's probably for 2 years. It's probably one of my favorite cities. The traffic was like nothing I've ever seen. It's worse than Atlanta traffic. It's worse than New York. It's the worst thing you ever seen.
That's hard to beat.
Yeah, but I could find anything I need as far as food or entertainment. If I wanted to go to a movie, if I want to go to the mall, so those things are kind of similar to the States.
So if you go to a movie, is it in English?
Yeah, you just got to get online and make sure.
Make
sure that particular movie is in English.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, I go to the movies often by myself while I'm there.
Now, is your family over there or do they stay here?
They stay here. We decided just because I have an older daughter. She's in middle school, and we just didn't want to keep moving her. She wants to be here with her friends and things like that. And plus, my wife couldn't travel this year because she was pregnant or whatnot. So we just decided to just stay. Man, it's definitely tough, but
is she from the Atlanta area? Is she from the Atlanta area?
I'm sorry.
Is she from the Atlanta area? Because you're from Alabama.
No, she's from California. We actually met here in Atlanta, but she's from California originally.
Gotcha.
It's actually great timing, I guess, with everything that's going on that they ended up staying home this season for you.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what she said. It's good, man, with her being pregnant in a foreign country and this, this thing that's going on, very crazy time. So, it worked out for the best.
Does Turkey still have like the wild dogs running on the street and the guys walking up
yes.
and down with machine guns?
Yes. That's funny, you know that, man. That's one thing I do not like about Turkey is when I said I lived in Istanbul, there's so many people there, and I feel like it's as many dogs running on the street as there is people walking around, man. It's crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. I never understood it.
Hey,
I don't either.
DJ, when I have like Jordan and the Holes and those guys around, I always ask them about getting an IU team together for like the TBT or something like that, because we see a lot of schools involved in that. We haven't seen an IU team. Interest in that when you get back?
I just talked to AJ Moye. Sent me a message on Instagram about he's trying to get up a team. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I don't think, it's going to be able to play because of what's going on, but I'll be definitely interested once I finish.
AJ Moye, is there a 40 and over league?
I guess, man.
What's he thinking?
Maybe he's going to coach, man.
Team, but experience beats it all. I hope so. We'll see.
But
I'll definitely be interested when I finish. It'll be cool. I watch that tournament every summer to see, Syracuse gets a team together. I think West Virginia had one last year. Ohio State always has one. So it would be cool for us to get one together and see what we can do. Give the fans something to see.
Yeah, and they had that Elam ending, which is a cool, unique thing. I really, we've talked about that a lot, but we haven't talked to someone who's played in anything that have you played in anything that had that Elam ending?
I haven't, but I like it. If I'm not mistaken, I think the NBA All-Star game was something similar to that.
Yeah.
At the end, and it just brings out the competitiveness in the game, and I like it. Just compete, and it gives the game an extra flair, so to speak, and I'm all for it.
Now, that's something cool that we can see and stuff like that, but is that something you could ever imagine seeing in like college basketball?
I don't think so. Not in college basketball. I think college basketball format is fine, but I don't like the shot clock. It's just too long for me. But it's entirely too long, 35 seconds. You can run like 4 different plays in one shot clock. That's too long. But I don't see it in college.
Well, DJ, man, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out to join us. I wish you and your family well. Congratulations again on the impending birth of your next child. We look forward to checking in with you and staying updated on what's going on with you.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You betcha.
Thanks,
DJ White, former Hoosier, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat with Cornell Area this morning. Brody Boyd's going to join us a little bit later. Looking forward to that as well. But, man, that was can you imagine the dogs? Man, it cracks me up, Todd, the dogs.
It's so strange. Like, there's just some places in Europe that just don't make any sense. And, I mean, you think like I'm being funny with that, but it's true. Like, these dogs are just running everywhere, and they're like wolves. They're not like little tiny dogs. It's just coyotes. It makes no sense.
He's got coyotes running about.
They are. It's craziest thing I've ever seen.
We got more Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, when we come back.
Change your state of mind, listen, baby.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com. All your daily information. Brody Boyd's going to join us in the next segment. Fifth all-time leading scorer in the state of Indiana, Todd just reminded me of. Was fourth until Romeo came through a couple years ago. He can score some points, huh?
That's a lot of points. That is a lot of points, no doubt.
I mean, it's whew. He ended up playing at Iowa. He picked a bad time to be a good player in Indiana, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird transition. You know, that was
well. It's because you guys had all you all. I mean, you had that in that class that you guys came in. Can you imagine being as good a player as he is and was, but coming out at the time when he came out? I mean, look at he had a 7-man class, and he was like he couldn't bust into it. Just so big, it was.
No, he's way younger than me. Like he graduated in like 2000. Like he graduated way later than me. He was the year when Coach Knight was basically getting booted out.
Yeah, I mean, it was similar in that regard to when you were that good. And
yeah. I mean,
but it worked out for him because he ends up winning a Big Ten tournament championship with Steve Alford.
Yeah, and he had some weird experiences at Iowa. I know I've read a lot of things about him talking about his experiences at Iowa and all that, and it's just it's neat to see how many different kids from Indiana. I mean, I root for every kid from Indiana to go somewhere and play and brag about what it's like to grow up and play high school basketball in Indiana. I love all of that, except for anybody that goes to Ohio State or Kentucky.
One of the other things that I wanted to talk about, I noticed Wisconsin came out. They are not welcoming back their spring sport athletes. They have said, thank you for what you've done for the school, but go ahead with your life.
Really?
Yeah, it's something that's probably going to spread to other schools as the financial ramifications hit these schools. We've talked about the fact that the NCAA had planned on doling out about $600 million, but that was chopped down to 200 something million. So
the school as a whole, they don't get to determine it based on per sport.
Barry Alvarez has said, "Thank you. We appreciate your time in Wisconsin." And
so let me just throw a scenario at you. Let's say that there's a track star that right before the first meet tears his ACL, breaks his ankle, blows a knee out, does something, and was going to redshirt. I mean, did they have the opportunity for those guys to redshirt?
Probably to go maybe if they go somewhere else.
There'll be some grad transferring in the.
You may see a flood of transfers from Wisconsin, but it depends on if other schools follow that lead. But that's going to be very interesting.
I'm sure, Barry Alvarez, the one thing I'll say, I don't have any reason to be a Wisconsin fan at all, but Barry Alvarez always seems to, I wanted to say maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he makes good decisions and kind of is well thought out. He's done a good job hiring coaches. He was a good coach back when he coached their football team. I feel like he kind of makes common sense decisions. So I'm just going to, without knowing more of the facts involved in it, I'm just going to say there's probably a decent reason. There's probably money related as to why they would take that stance. Otherwise, I don't see why they would be that, hard set on it being a rule.
Oh, it's always about money. You can just guarantee you that it always comes down. But I'm not going to act like
none of these
they're being jerks. I mean,
none of these sports are that big of revenue generators for their schools, though. So that's just, I can't believe it would be that big of a factor in.
I think it's a totality of everything. The difficulty that we're dealing with, period, already. Then now you're looking forward to all the adjustments that are going to have to be made, because a ton of adjustments. Then if you look at bringing the spring sport athletes back, well, now you've looked at having an extra class of athletes, and there's so many. And I'm not going to say I blame them, but it may just be, this may be one of those things. It's like, we're sorry, it's just easier to do this. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with it for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and truly, and I've said this before on the show. The only people in that regard that are really affected are spring athletes who have already redshirted, because anyone else that's not redshirted could use this as their redshirt year, and they get an extra year anyway. I mean, the scholarships are set up for, your actual eligibility is set up for, you have 5 years to complete 4 years of athletics. And so if they've not redshirted, they can do this on their own without having to. But I get it. I mean, I understand. We talked about this right when they were kind of making that decision, is, you're now affecting the freshmen coming in, and not just their freshman years, but maybe their overall development for their entire careers or the rest of their lives and all that. I mean, I get it. It's a life-altering decision for more than just the actual senior athletes.
And it stinks. I mean, I think about my daughter. She's going to be a senior in high school. You've got a son that's going to be a senior in high school. And she plays soccer, which is a fall sport, which I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit better about it right now, but nothing's out of the woods. So I would just be crushed if she was affected like that. I mean,
yeah. And what we're hearing right now, I mean, the college football season being up in the air, if that's up in the air, so are high school sports for sure. Because, money-wise, they're going to do anything they can to get that football season in. And if they're talking about that possibly being affected, then we're going to be looking at not kids just being out for the rest of, this school year. They'll be out for the start of next school year.
The Big Ten has been a league that I'm not going to be surprised if we start seeing other Big Ten schools do this, including Indiana. And Indiana has been a school that has not always just followed the leader. I mean, with the third assistant baseball coach that they tried to get voted in that's not paid, Indiana voted for that, to do that. So Indiana's sometimes a leader in that regard. And I'm not saying what they will do, but if everyone started doing that in this conference, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But we'll see.
And Barry Alvarez, like I said, he's not like a rogue, athletic director. I mean, he seems to kind of be a common sense kind of guy, and he's pretty respected in what he does. So for him to make that decision, it just kind of seems like there's some factors involved in it that we're not completely schooled on.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about, speaking of athletic directors, 88% of 130 polled, they want an expanded football playoffs. Now, of course, some of that is because you got like these conferences who have never even made it into a single playoff yet.
Sure.
Which, and I get it, but at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, is this supposed to be everybody gets a trophy thing, or is it the best of the best? But last year was not a great argument for 8 teams. I'll be honest with you.
It wasn't, but it also could have been. If they had done it and one of those 5, 6, 7, 8s had won a game or got to the finals or done something like that. I mean, it could have been a year. It doesn't look like it because it looked like there was 3 teams that were easily better than the rest of the country. But, it also could have been that fluke year where a team got hot and got it at the right time. The reason why I think it's a no-brainer and it makes complete sense is because they already take the time off. They basically take the entire month of December off. So it's not like they would need to extend the season. It wouldn't go more into the NFL. Like they could very easily play all these playoff games in the same time frame and probably even quicker and end everything, get back to ending it like January 2nd or 3rd or 4th or something like they used to, instead of, last year was January 15th. I mean, that just made no sense.
Text into the show from Ryan. I think you're on a tape delay. He asked what's DJ's favorite IU memory. Sorry, Matt. We missed that one. Just got that text though. But yeah, I agree with you. And it's just there's so many things. And there's some people like, who cares? It's sports. Who cares? It's not just sports. This is a fabric of life that is just as important as a lot of other things, whether people want to acknowledge that or not, because it's a part of people's lives, but it is also a part of how a ton of people make their living. Us, for example, right. But it's not just something to blow away. Sports are an important part of an American fabric, whether people want to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody, but for a vast majority of the country and for people in the world, for that matter, it really is. And I like DJ said, I've played over in Europe, and I've seen what soccer and Formula One racing is to people in Europe. And, almost every country I went to, it was a gigantic deal. And like I told you, there'd be 2,500 people at our basketball game. And the next day there'd be 110,000 people at a soccer game. And it was like a Indy 500 atmosphere every single weekend at a soccer game. And that's just how important, sports are to people across the world. And we know what basketball is to people in Indiana. Look at what's happened in the last month. I mean, I literally don't watch anything hardly on TV that's not sports related. And, to go into deeper depression. I mean, yesterday I sat here and stared at my TV on what would have been the first day of the Masters being on. And I would have had 2 computers set up watching the Amen Corner on this TV and watching it on Golf Channel on my big TV. I mean, I would have watched every second of the broadcast the whole time. And it's just, it's just different. I mean, it's just a different time for us. And it's hopefully it gets back to that point, but it also on the good side of it, it has done a lot of things and bring families closer together. And, people are eating dinners together. And I mean, we're in our houses by ourselves pretty much, but it just is, it's just different. Cool.
We don't do politics on here, but there was another governor yesterday. I don't even know. I don't remember exactly what state, and definitely don't remember which affiliation because I don't care. And I sent a post out that the ignorance of those charged with leading people is just staggering at times. There was a governor yesterday saying, I think that he was allowing people to go to or not go to parks, but they were closing down golf courses because he's explaining how, well, when you play golf, you have to do the scorecard. And he was just talking about how ignorant he was of the fact that people are out doing this and social distancing the entire time.
Right.
Like they are right here, like I did yesterday, like you do all the time. And it's just the ignorance of the people that are leading people is just staggering this far into this.
Yeah, I mean, if it's kind of one of those things, I feel like I can give a decent opinion or my opinion of things when I know something about it. But when I don't know jack about it, I just tend to clam up and not say a word. It doesn't seem like politicians have that skill because they'll just talk. They'll act like they know everything about everything, and they don't have a clue. And I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. I don't give a crap what you are. I'm not trying to convince you to be what I am. It just is insane to me how they seem to have an answer for every scenario in the world. I've never heard one of them go, I don't really know about that. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I had a text into the show from Roger in Evansville asking, he says, did I hear that the college football season could possibly be expanded to 13 games? I haven't seen that, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by anything, but I don't know what sense that makes. I don't know the reasoning behind adding a 13th game when you already have bowl games, which would already be set there in those times. So you're already kind of closing the season down. I don't know. Right now there's nothing set in stone. So they are, and I know for a fact, I know the athletic directors across the country right now, and definitely in the Big Ten. I mean, they're praying every day and hoping that they get to have the full football season. I doubt looking at expanding anything is on the docket right now because they're just hoping from a time perspective that they can get started at a normal time. I mean, the economic impact, even if there's only half of a football season, is catastrophic. So, I mean, that's how, for them to get this entire football season in, I doubt looking at expanding it is an issue. One of the things the NCAA is looking at is the one-time transfer, which I think it was yesterday, someone said that the earliest that could happen would be May. There's a possibility that the NCAA may allow that, a one-time transfer. But that's something that they're looking at changing completely, not just for a one-time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, who even knows? I mean, we could have probably done a full show on that topic if it weren't for this pandemic and everything that's going on. But right now, that seems like such a non-factor. I mean, we're just trying to get back into some sense of normalcy and get some, where I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion that, especially throughout the rest of this school year, everything is canceled and not going to happen. And right now we're just in that lull, hoping that there's a way to get things started on time for next school year.
Stadium reported Wednesday that Steinbrecher's is hopeful the issue can be taken up again in May. Then you've got name, image, likeness. There's so many things that are still going on during all this craziness that it's just been kind of lost in the shuffle. But these are major things. The name, image, likeness is a major issue.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it would have probably been the number one topic on every sports show that discusses college athletics had it not been for what's going on. So yeah, it's a major issue. I don't know. I mean, obviously I have nothing to do with the athletic directors and the NCAA and that stuff. I mean, I don't know whether they would, whether they're still talking about some of those things or whether everything has just been tabled until they have, a little bit more concrete time frame on when things are going to get back to somewhat normal.
I think that's pretty much the answer to everything.
To everything, it really is.
Everything, and it's not. And I'm not being facetious. I mean, it's just crazy. We're living in a time where we don't know what tomorrow is going to be.
I wake up every day to look and make sure the grocery stores are still going to be open this afternoon.
It's nuts. And we talked about that NCAA added eligibility thing. Even with that passing, those guys coming back, girls, whatever. I didn't mean girls, but
student athletes
coming back, we're not even guaranteed scholarships. They were only guaranteed eligibility.
Yeah, so, and that whole thing, I mean, if it's possible to remember back to being a senior in college, I mean, you have a different mindset your senior year. I mean, there's no question about it. I think in every sport, everyone I've talked to, I mean, you've got the, you're springboarding yourself onto the rest of your life and whatever angle or direction that's going to go. It would be so hard to turn that back around. I'm sure there will be some circumstances and instances and specific cases within sports that it does make sense. But for the vast, vast majority of athletes, I bet you that extra year of eligibility is not even going to be a factor.
No, I think that it won't be. You're right. After all this, I mean, it's going to be something that's kind of forgotten. There's going to be a lot of people that softball players, there's very little chance that very many softball players are going on to become professional or less. There's just a lot less. So this is something they were just doing. This is a sport they played, and that's going to be it. And they don't get that.
It's the sport that probably got them a scholarship or partial scholarship and got their education paid for. And that was the end all be all. I mean, that's what they wanted out of it, and that's what they got. And so, it's not every athlete's not looking to go on and become a professional. I mean, you've got some sense of reality in things, and there's just not that many professional spots in softball, as an example, or track and field, or baseball for that matter. I mean, you see a lot of guys get drafted, but in percentage wise, compared to how many guys play college baseball, it's not that many.
Yeah, it's you're right. That's a great point. Those particular sports, that's exactly they had their education paid for, and they got to have an incredible time. It just didn't get to finish like they wanted,
right.
And it stinks. And I'm not lessening that, because, like I said, if my daughter's senior year was canceled, it would be crushing. I get it, but. Yeah, it's a weird deal, unfortunately. Hey, we got Brody Boyd going to come up next with a former Indiana superstar player, played at Iowa. Looking forward to talking to him on Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Back after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Joined now by the 5th all-time leading scorer in Indiana basketball history, Brody Boyd. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? How you guys?
Can't complain. Todd O'Leary's sitting right beside me.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Todd? I was a big fan, buddy. I enjoyed watching you.
That just means I'm old, but I really, really appreciate you saying that.
He actually said the same thing about you.
I did say that. I remember I watched your career, and I loved your grittiness. I was convinced if you'd have been my age, you'd have been playing at IU just like I did, because you had that bulldog look on your face all the time. And I know Coach.
Well, I appreciate that. I didn't really have a choice. If I didn't, I wasn't going to play in the Big Ten. Period. Not at 5'10". This ain't gonna happen.
Yep, understood.
Yeah, it would have been great to have you here, but you got a lot of things going on now down in Southern Indiana, running a basketball academy in Sullivan and keeping things lively down in the southwest part of the state.
Yes, sir. Yes, I am. And it's a crazy time now because I've never looked so forward to work in my life, because you're not able to get into any gymnasiums, no YMCAs to give your clinics or your individual workouts and things, and kids can't even come to you. So, I'm really looking forward to getting back to work again, but yeah, things are going well for me and the kids in this area and basketball in Southern Indiana. There's nothing like it.
You're staying in touch with I know you have a lot of kids that you train and all that. How are you dealing with those guys? What are you doing? And how are you guys doing day to day?
I do a lot of FaceTime. We're doing it just as like everybody else is doing, a lot of FaceTime video stuff with, the kids with individual workouts, things like that, making sure they're doing everything what they need to be doing, from homework to, attention to detail, things like that. But, it's a tough time. It really is, because you can't really, be in the live mode with the kids, because obviously with the social distancing, the laws and things, which, we'll get there. Just got to take time and stay safe.
Todd said he needs to get back in shape. He needs to come down and get into one of your programs.
I'll give him a workout. That's for sure. Well, I'll just give it to him. I'm not going to attend. I'm not going to be in it. I can tell you that.
You better
my days are over.
Better make sure there's a defibrillator over there, or something to jumpstart me, because it doesn't take long for me to be out of breath. That's for sure.
Well, I thought people were nuts when they said, Brody, when you're 30, you'll see your day's coming, buddy. They were right. They were dead right.
Oh, I had a buddy that was older.
It didn't get any better.
He used to train us, and he used to always say, and I specifically remember these words coming out of my mouth. He was like, man, when you get to be 40, and I was a senior in high school at the time. He's like, when you get to be 40, your whole body just changes. And I was like, man, I literally said to him, that's just something old people say. Like, what are you talking about? And it's not
so
good. Like, every day I wake up, I sit on the side of the bed and I try to figure out what hurts today. Like which
exactly.
part of my body
You're
am I going to have
right.
to stretch?
And you're trying, I've got a 4-month-old, and I'm telling you, he's starting to get into things, and I'm telling him, like, buddy, you don't know what you're doing to your dad. God.
4 months, man. There's the workout.
I cannot imagine that right now. I got 3 boys, but the youngest one's 17, so they're all
you got a maid then. The
only time I hear from them is when they need money for food.
Sure. That's the nature of the beast. You know how it is. We've all been there. That's for sure.
No doubt.
Brody, talking about the sport, there's a lot of great recruits right now. Recruiting going pretty heavily, though. Even though we're in this weird time, recruiting has not slowed down much. We've seen a lot of guys. Of course, Trey Galloway. The Mr. Basketball race is coming down, yet to be announced. The All-Star team was announced. You're a former All-Star. Talk about the importance. We've talked about it with Todd and all these guys this week, that they don't get to play in this game, but they're still, for the rest of their life, like you are, like Todd is, they're going to be an Indiana All-Star.
I feel, gosh, I can't imagine because, even in elementary school, junior high, that's why you play basketball. That's why you work. You're working towards, that was my dream, to become an Indiana All-Star, and ultimately was to play for the Hoosiers at IU. But we had some kind of, I won't go into it, but Coach Knight and my mother and things like that. But that's in the past. But
Hey, that's what we're here for. We got all the time in the world now. Come on, we got all the time in the world.
Yeah. Exactly. Stop it. It's perfect.
Oh man, if you want to get into that, you can go on. Yeah, you can look it up online. It's on there. but as far as being an Indiana All-Star, my gosh, that's what you live for in Indiana, and I feel for the kids that aren't able to do that, because that's an experience that I'll never forget. My gosh, I got to play with Jerry Jeffrey, Zach Randolph, Andre Owens. We were in Austin Parkinson, Brett Busher. We were loaded that year in 2000, and to be able to go, to go to Kentucky and play there, and then come back to Indiana, and I think we won by 30 both times, and that's just tough. You feel bad for the kids that can't experience that or are not going to be able to, because that's something you just won't get back.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. And, I talked about it this week, especially with all the stuff coming out and announcing the All-Star team and all that. But once you get to, your age even and up at my age, honestly, the game part of it, I don't even remember the games that much. I remember hanging out with the guys and I remember before one of the games, Chris Lawson shaved Richie Mount's head and put a mohawk on his head, literally 2 hours before we were going out on Market Square Arena's floor.
Oh my gosh!
And just some of the stupid stuff that we did. It was that's the stuff I remember. I couldn't even tell you anything from the game. I don't remember much about it, but always being introduced as an Indiana All-Star. It's a cool thing, and I'm glad they went through. If they had not announced the team, that would have been a major tragedy.
Correct. Absolutely. I agree with you there. I was beginning to think they weren't going to, but now that you're right, they can say, yep, I was an Indiana All-Star, but to not have that experience firsthand playing, but that's great that they went ahead and did that. I'm glad they did that.
You keep your eye on a lot of talent, obviously, doing what you do. Indiana got some good recruits coming in, and Trey Galloway, Anthony Leo, potentially Christian Lander this season. They just got Logan Duncombe to commit to him. A lot of talent coming from this area, Brody.
They do. I'm always rooting for Indiana when they're not playing Iowa, of course. But, I've always been diehard IU fan, and to be able to get some of these kids, these local kids, I've always said, if Indiana recruits Indiana and gets Indiana, they don't have to recruit another state ever, and it's so true. It's so true, but it's easier said than done, obviously, with a lot of talent in Indiana.
Yeah. Do you keep in contact with Coach Alford at all?
I do, yes. I talked to Coach Alford, yes. He got a big Indiana recruit. Yes, he did. So he's awful excited about that.
The kid from Jeffersonville, Trey Coleman.
Yes. Yep. Trey. Yep. That's correct.
Is every recruit named Trey now? Whatever seems like
I know.
Name, their name's Trey.
And Coleman. Yeah. It was. I was like, oh, man, you're getting Kaufman, and he's like, no, Coleman. I'm like, oh. Okay.
Well, he's good too. Well, he's really good too.
Yeah.
Right. He is very, very good. Very talented.
One has a Y, one doesn't. Trust me, it's tough when you're trying to report all those guys. Trey Kaufman, Trey Galloway,
I can only imagine.
It's rough. But, a lot of talent. Indiana getting the roster built more around kind of how it used to be. We've talked about that a lot too, Brody. And you played against those types of teams. But this looks like it's Archie is getting his roster kind of more to his liking finally.
Sure. And with Archie, I'm a huge fan of Archie, always have been, even back when he was Dayton. But I'm telling you, the guy knows his stuff, a great family background, his brother coaching at Arizona. They're just, a great family, and he's a great coach. I've always been a big fan of his.
Do you get to? I always ask about this because I'm interested in how there's been coaching changes obviously since I played at Indiana, and people ask me all the time like what it's like when you go back there now because it's a different it's a different regime of coaches that are there. What's it like at Iowa? Do you go back often, even though
I go
back
back, and I always try to go back once a year for games. But when, obviously with me doing what I do, it's right in the dead of, bam, what I'm doing with basketball and things, and it's tough. But I was fortunate enough to get the Chris Street Leadership and Integrity Award when I was at Iowa in 2004, and that's something I always go back for every year. And Iowa Hawkeyes, their pro sports is Iowa basketball and Iowa football, because there's no pro sports in Iowa. So that they people that black and gold, they live it, they breathe it. And, when I go back, it's like you just left, people treat you the same, and it's just a great place to play at. I don't have any, I don't have any respect, about playing at Iowa. I'm so glad I played at the University of Iowa. I feel there's no other place that, I could have went to that would have treated me any better. Coach Alford was second to none. He was tremendous. Great staff with Coach Lansing at Indiana State. And, just a great place, great facility, great community.
Yeah, it's it's kind of funny as I look around the Big Ten. There's teams that you kind of like, don't like, you really dislike. Iowa's was one of those teams that I've always been kind of neutral on. I kind of respect. I've always respected them. You always Hayden Fry, how could you not? Kirk Ferentz, how could you not? Even Fran. I love the Fran com, man. I mean, he brings some spice to the game, and they're doing pretty damn well.
And not only that, his son brings some spice to the game too. Because he's not afraid to get in somebody's face, and I think, with Fran, I used to work out Patrick and Connor McCaffrey when I was living in Iowa it was 2009, 2008, something like that. 10, they were just kids. And I coached Patrick's AAU team. And, I always knew that, those kids, they were going to be tough. They were going to be feisty. And, it was just a tough situation with what happened to Patrick McCaffrey there at Iowa. With the cancer and things like that, but I know he's doing better. So
we just had Andy Katz on yesterday, Brody, and he's got his way too early, but his top 36 out right now. He's got Iowa. What were they, number 5 or something?
A lot of people's got it. It all depends on Garza. That's a huge.
Yes, it does.
I mean, if he comes back, I'd say they're a top 10 team without doubt. But without him, nope, they're not a top 10 team. They're a completely different team. So,
well, that's really why we had you on here today, Brody, is we want the inside scoop. Is Garza coming back or not?
We always say, well, he should just come back to school. That comes around once. Money's always going to be there. Well, with millions flashing in front of your face, what would you do? So, it's just a tough situation, and I know he's going to do well whatever he does, because he's a kid that loves to work. I remember Coach McCaffrey telling me, he says, Brody, he just loves to work. He loves to get better. That's why he's staying. That's why he said he just loves to work. And from what I hear, he is going to stay. So we'll see.
I read an article that he and his dad went to Hawaii last year and ran mountains. Like ran up the side of mountains and stuff. I'm like, what kind of training is going on these days? Like, I used to go out to the court and shoot extra free throws.
And I think he's got it's an addiction to get better. And that there's nothing better if you're a coach. I know Coach McCaffrey was telling me, he's just the coach's dream, because he just wants to get better every day. So
when you see that kid that is declared for the draft, and you're like going, who? Really?
I know.
What? Yeah. But I had the exact opposite effect when I heard that he may not be going. I'm like, what? Really? Yeah. He might be staying? Is he nuts? It was so. Yeah. I had that same exact.
I agree with you. How you got to be crazy to stay, but at the same time, I don't know. It's a tough. I would love to be in that situation, but I was 5'10", white Caucasian from Southern India, so I wasn't going to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I said it yesterday on the show. I mean, it's a $10 million decision for him in the long run.
Absolutely.
And I just don't see. I would love for this, for college basketball in general, it would be just awesome to have him back. From Indiana's perspective, I hope he goes to the NBA. But from a personal perspective, I don't see how anyone in the world could advise him not to go take the money, because it's not always going to be there. There's, look at Michigan State, and heck, look at Iowa itself and how many injuries they've dealt with. I mean, Bohannon,
absolutely.
Everybody.
You just never know. You just never know.
You never
and
know.
When the opportunity's there, I just don't see how you pass it up. It's crazy. But hey, that's his decision, and my hat's off to him. Good luck to him.
Well, man, I know you got your academy going on. Where can the people? You're down in Sullivan, Indiana, and Southwest Indiana. One of the stations we're on is the Ref 97.7 in Evansville. If some people are looking to get out and get some training, or not necessarily this minute, but where can they find you?
Absolutely. You can go on Facebook to my Facebook page, Brody Boyd, or you can give me a call at 812-933-8056. And I do a lot of individual workouts, team clinics, a lot of camps in the summer times for different schools of all ages. I don't just work out with, big time varsity players and things like that, but, our college players, I work with girls. I work with, kids that are, kindergarten through 6. I enjoy it. It's a fun age. And, I think I'm a kid at heart, and I think that's why I chose to work with kids at all different levels.
We'll get that information out, and we'll get that on the Hoosier.com as well on Rivals.
Awesome, guys.
So
I
we won't
appreciate
miss
it.
all that. But man, we can't thank you. It was great catching up with you. We'll be doing it again, staying in
Absolutely.
touch. But hope everything's going well and you guys are staying safe and having fun.
Yeah, you guys too. I appreciate you having me on, guys.
Thanks, Brody.
Brody Boyd, Indiana Prep superstar, former Iowa player, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary. That was just a fun conversation. He's just a good old dude, man.
You know what? He is 95% of guys who grow up in Indiana wanting to play high school basketball and wanting to play college basketball. I mean, that's the funny part. I used to walk into Coach Knight used to have us go do speaking engagements at different elementary schools and things. And I'd walk in there and he would kind of pair us up. So I walked in with Funderburk one time, and I walked in with Calvert, numerous times, and we'd be there. And I'm like, people, you should be listening to me talk a lot more than him, because 99% of you sitting out there look like me. I mean, you're my height. You're not going to be that height. And it's just funny. Like I say it, laughing and being funny about it. But, I try to get him to understand, like, look, it's not, you can't do anything to become 6'9". If you could, we would all be 22 feet tall. I mean, you can't help yourself grow. I mean, that's just genetics, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And so, most people are built like I am, and unfortunately for them. And that's why I used to always, I mean, he's what every kid that's out shooting in their driveway and by the side of the barn and wherever it is, I mean, they're going to grow up to be, 5'10" to 6'2" kid that's not all that athletic. And there's just not that big a market for that across the country.
And about 20% of the time, there's that exception to the rule, because you're right. 80% of the time, I understand they're just not going to recruit that kid just because 80% of the time it's not going to work out just how you want. But there are those. He's one of those exceptions.
Yeah. I mean, when you have an exceptional skill scoring the basketball, you'll hear this. I don't care if it's in Southern Indiana, Northern Indiana, Indianapolis. I don't care what youth group it is. Some coach along the way is going to get in your ear, or some camp you're going to be at, and you're going to hear them say, there is always room on a team for a guy that can score. And, when you're a guy that can shoot pretty well, like, you tend to remember those things. Like, I'll tell you this, and I'll stick by this statement. I have never seen a single team where the leading rebounder on the team didn't start. And I tell kids that all the time. The kids that I say, you don't have to be able to shoot. You don't have to be able to do anything other than work as hard as you can and get every rebound you can possibly get. Because the leading rebounder on every single team at every single level starts. And, it's just one of those things. I remembered it as a kid. I remember them telling me, hey, if you can shoot, you can play. So I practiced shooting more than anything else. I mean, it was just that simple to me.
Dennis Rodman made a living out of not being a great offensive player.
Guy can score a lick. He could put him in the gym with anybody, half of the high school kids in the state of Indiana, and they could beat him in a competition of horse or free throws or anything. He couldn't score a lick, but he was 6'8" or 9" and athletic, and he had an endless motor. I mean, that dude, somebody got a hold of him. And I don't want to turn this into my political statement on it, but Justin Smith could do the exact same thing and make $10 million a year if in every single possession of every game his goal was to get a rebound. If he led the nation in rebounding next year, he would get drafted in the top 15 of the draft and make $10, $15 million a year. It's that simple. I mean, not everybody's capable of doing that. I couldn't lead the nation in rebounding, no matter if I tried every possession, every second of every day. There's just no way. He has the physical capability to do that.
That's a great point. It truly is. I mean, and he could be, and he's so much more athletic than a Dennis Rodman.
No, it's not.
Stronger.
He's a freak. He's a freak athlete. And I'm saying that in a time of incredible athletes. Like, you know, there are not 5 people across the country that are his height or bigger and as athletic as him. And that puts you in a very rare category. And we're talking about a sport of just, I mean, every team has incredible athletes, but he's even on a whole nother level. Like he truly is that guy on a whole, he's Troy Williams, like with a bigger, thicker body.
You're not lying, man. It's been a great week, a fun week, a great guest today. We can't thank
you. Did a great job of guests this week, man. You did awesome.
So DJ White and Brody Boyd on today, man. Had a great time with those guys. Appreciate them so much catching up with those guys and seeing where they are. We appreciate you guys most of all as we continue to try to entertain you guys each and every day here. And we'll keep plodding along, but we got more next week. We'll be back with all that, and hopefully it warms up next week. So I'm ready for some of that warm weather again, man.
Doesn't look like it's going to.
Not yet, but I hope everybody has a great, safe, and as fun as possible weekend. Todd, I hope you have that. Jake,
appreciate it
as well, guys. We thank you all until on Monday. I will see you on the radio.